Doing good evening and welcome to tonight's broadcast. We are back again. This time we're talking about something that I don't talk about very often on the channel. You know, um, I hate people that you ask them, like, what kind of music do you listen to? And they say, everything. I listen to everything. It's a it's a horrible like way to engage in a music conversation. I will say that there is something you got to hold space for people who maybe can't think off the top of their head or maybe feeling self-conscious in the moment with people that they don't feel comfortable with. And then you say, oh yeah, like you give some more generic answer. But when I hear someone say everything, it really gets to me. However, I do also think at the same time that, there's another response to that question where it's just like, I listen to a lot of stuff, and here are some of the things that I listen to, and then sort of rattle off a variety of things. But you got some people, I listen to everything but country, or I listen to everything but rap. I just hate that shit. I don't know why. It just bothers me. All of that to say that I do listen to a lot of different music. And primarily this is we talk a lot about punk rock. We talk about a lot of different stuff. We've never talked about the Grateful Dead, though. And I do enjoy the Grateful Dead. I always have, going all the way back to having American Beauty on CD, and then Working Man's Dead. And then, this was strange, actually. I loved the song Scarlet Begonias, and I wanted the Mars Hotel, which had Scarlet Begonias. And one day, the strangest situation, no jewel case, no nothing. One day, I opened up the family stereo, and there was a copy of the Grateful Dead Mars Hotel, scratched up, but in the stereo system. And I know that it wasn't my mom or dad who put it there. They didn't even know. I never expressed that desire to anybody. So how the fuck did it get there? I don't know. To this day, I do not know. I do have that CD still. And I was very grateful. It was almost like wishing to the universe, hey, I really want that. Touch of Grey, that was another song. I remember before, the advent of Napster and Kazaa and all that stuff, and the only way to get MP3s was in AOL chat rooms. And I remember asking, this had to have been 1998, 1997, no, 98, maybe 98, 99. I remember asking, does anybody have Touch of Grey by the Grateful Dead? And I finally found a live version of it. Crazy, really crazy. I was looking for like Ricky Martin, Livin' La Vida Loca. Remember the Winamp player? Just so ridiculous. In any case, tonight we're talking about the Grateful Dead, and in particular, we're talking about something that I also find fascinating. We're talking about Grateful Dead guitars. So if you don't like guitars, or if you don't like the Grateful Dead, this might not be the conversation for you. Joining us here tonight for this conversation is our guest co-host, our trusty sidekick, who you saw in the last show we did about Sublime playing with Miguel. He's back again. And this guy knows the Grateful Dead. This guy's this guy is a deadhead through and through. He could probably write you a novel, an oral history of the Grateful Dead if he wanted to, speak about all the aspects, far more versed in the Grateful Dead than I. And so I'm very glad to have him back on the show. DJ Spicy Hands, a.k.a. Drunken Master 499, a.k.a. Yeah, let's just bring him out. Hi
there.
Welcome back to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, and I heard everything you were saying leading up to you adding me to the stream here, and I'm just getting excited because there's so much I want to say about all those things you're talking about.
Go, please speak.
Well, first of all, Winamp, Napster, when Napster came out, it's almost probably like a lot of these kids felt when Spotify came out. And I think when Spotify came out, I don't know, people who were around when Spotify came out aren't kids anymore, I think is
No.
the first thing. But it was like this watershed moment where it was just like, wait, I can just type in the name of the song and then I can download it and have it for free. Like, there's no way that this is going to last. Like, this is too good to be true. And it's insane to think about that, because the fact was that a lot of these songs, for me, not having broadband yet, still being on dial-up, and, waiting 35, 45, an hour and a half to get a song.
Oh, yeah.
But thinking, wow, this is too good to be true. And put that up against Spotify right now, where you have everything more or less that's ever been recorded.
We're spoiled rotten these days.
Spoiled rotten. And music is free now, for better or worse,
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Let's say for better and for worse. I'm in camp worse. But that's a whole other discussion for another time.
Yes.
Another thing I wanted to comment on is, I remember growing up, you used to ask people, what kind of music are you into? And they would all say, at least where we grew up, and everything except country.
Yeah.
Right. And what's crazy is that I grew up thinking that the only people who were into country music was like old people. I didn't think country music was still culturally relevant in this country. I thought it was like a throwback. That's how sort of a bubble that I grew up in, being in like the New York metropolitan area. It wasn't until I went to college upstate and realized, no, this is still very much a mainstream art form that is only really for a sort of ridicule where I grew up, but that's not the norm. So that was shocking to me. But I don't think that giving an answer like, oh, I listen to everything is it's not interesting for a conversation. B, it's hardly ever accurate.
Yeah.
And C, for someone like myself, who I think I have pretty eclectic tastes, right? I'm sitting here, as you were talking about that, I was looking at my my record collection that I have in front of me, thinking like, what are some of like the wildest genres I could pull out and say, hey, I do listen to everything. But the fact is, I wouldn't answer the question that way, because it's not good for a conversation. If you are having a conversation with someone and they ask about your tastes, it's like, you go to a restaurant and say, hey, do you have any recommendations? And the server says, it's all good. Like, oh, thanks. Very helpful.
That is a great example of the situation. A great example of the situation. Mushroom Leg is here. How you doing, Mush? And he says, not trying to be a dick, but the guy in the white shirt looks like Maynard from Pulp Fiction. Who's Maynard?
Yeah, I've seen that movie a few times. I don't know Maynard. And also, this is pink. This is pink.
It looks white to me as
yeah,
well.
It does look white. It does look white.
You know what Maynard, it looks like? It looks like
Maynard I'm aware of is from Tool.
It doesn't look like salmon. It looks like someone farted salmon onto white.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened. And then they put it on the rack at Target.
Yeah. It's a delicate color. The guy who runs the pawn shop. You mean Dwayne Whittaker?
You know what's funny? Because I used
Holy shit.
There's times where I saw that and thought like, hey, that guy kind of looks like my dad a little bit. Like,
he does look like your dad.
Yeah, he's got
shit. Dwayne Whittaker. I fucking know that guy. And he's also in From Dusk Till Dawn 2, Texas Blood Money. Oh, wow. That is fucking nutty garbanzo beans. Look at this. Look at the split shot. Hold on. Let me
Who knew that character had a name all along?
He did this whole time. Look. You see, you can't see that because I didn't hear. Look at this.
Oh, wow.
That is your dad, but it's also you. That's you.
That's my dad about 20 years ago.
Yeah, but it's a little
and
bit you
he,
now.
wow,
That's, I mean, I'm looking at you right now.
he's
He's
got a
got
keen
you,
eye.
bro. He's got you dead to rights. He's
Yeah,
got you dead
he
to
does.
rights on
Listen,
that.
hey, it's good because I'm tired of getting. I used to get Seth Rogen for a long time. I
You're
got
not Seth
tired of
Rogen,
that.
but you were pipped from fucking during your hunky years. When you were during your hunky years, you were pipped from fucking Lord of the Rings.
It's really, yes, that's true. And Charlie from
Oh yeah, your favorite show.
yes. Yeah, if you pull that picture back up, it's always sad too, because like the moment when he's making that face and when I see that and be like, wow, he kind of looks like my dad there.
Yeah, you know what he's looking at, right?
I'm pretty sure he's getting off right there.
He's absolutely masturbating
Yeah.
to his buddy Zed essaying Marcellus Wallace's rear derriere.
Yeah, so
And
it's one thing to watch a movie and be like, hey, this guy right now in this moment kind of looks like my dad. It's another thing entirely to be watching a movie and being like, this guy there getting his rocks off to a
an assault,
an act of violence,
yes,
and is being kinky about it. Looks like my dad is kind of a different experience than just, hey, this guy in the movie looks like my dad.
Absolutely.
Very strange. I had a little bit of shame in that, which is weird because
you don't want to go around saying,
I swear he's not my dad.
Yeah, you don't want to go around saying that it's not. There's no bragging rights in that. There's just none.
No, sir.
Unfortunately, that's where you're at right now. But I promise you, Mushroom. I promise you, when this man 20 years ago, when he was a hunky dreamboat, he looked like fucking Pip from Lord of the Rings, and he sailed on that shit. Dominic, he sailed on that shit. He sailed on that shit for sure. And I'm gonna really blow all your minds. 100 pounds ago, 20 years ago, and 100 pounds ago, when I weighed maybe $130, right? I'm not 230. That's crazy. I'm not 230. Maybe I'm 215 right now. Maybe I'm 210.
I'm approaching 230.
But when I was about $140, $130, every single day of my life, and I wore a leather jacket every single day, people said, hey, Breakfast Club. They said I looked just like Judd Nelson from the Breakfast Club. And for forever and a day. And so for years, I would always get once a day, hey, you look just like that guy, and amongst other things, but that was the big one.
What about the one that was really spooky though? And I don't know if you remember where I'm going with this. There was a guy from a show called Entourage, and he was like a film director guy.
Billy.
And people were like, oh yeah, you look like him. And then he turns out he's also
from the same town.
That
was kind crazy. Of Billy something. Yes, I do remember that. Really funny. That was really crazy.
I'm thrilled to talk about the Dead with you. I love the Dead. Grateful Dead minutia is something that I've been obsessed with for a long time. Mm-hmm. You and I were in college together at one point at a certain college campus. And when I was in between, this is before smartphones, in between classes, I would go to the library and they had this illustrated book of Grateful Dead facts or whatever it was. I don't remember the exact title, but I would just go there and just look at it.
At WCC?
WCC.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd go to the library and look at that book. I just wanted to soak up, and this is the thing about fandom, like for example, I knew someone who claims as part of her personality to be like a Harry Potter fan. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is like,
I'm listening to you. Keep talking.
Like, put this on my profile. I am a Harry Potter fan, and yet hasn't read the books, and like, what kind of fan are you if you haven't sucked up every single last drop of trivia and minutia and factoids? I mean, if you how big of a fan are you that you haven't even read the source material from which the books?
You would say that about me because I actually, and maybe it's because of my love for punk rock and urgency, I prefer the studio Grateful Dead tracks, which is sacrilegious to any Grateful Dead fan who's like, what the fuck? You mean you don't want that 25-minute Cosmic Charlie? What is it? Cosmic
Charlie is a song. Yep.
That's a long one though, right?
It's one of the earlier, more psychedelic.
Maybe Dark Star.
I'd imagine if they did, like would, stretch it out quite a bit. Dark Star for sure. But listen, what you're saying is true. Like, but you don't claim to be you do claim to be a Grateful Dead fan, but you don't make it a part of your personality.
No. I could talk. I mean, I could talk Dead with anybody. I mean, that I've read books about the Dead. Like, I can talk Dead for sure.
You know more than I do.
Mushroom, real quick, is saying, I need to get into the Dead. I just got into Steely Dan, so the Dead seems appropriate. I'll tell you this, Mushroom, knowing that Mushroom likes punk rock as I do, and mind you, there is some overlap there in the form of Greg Ginn from Black Flag is a huge Grateful Dead fan. When you think about some of those later things that he's doing on Black Flag records, he's just doing the Dead. So the Dead kind of boomerang back to punk rock in this very strange way, but that's not what I was going to say. What I was going to say is, if you listen to Cold Rain and Snow off of their self-titled released record, 1967, The Grateful Dead, that song, I would say that it's almost like a garage rock song, and it's really sort of, I don't want to use the word punky. It's like, I don't know what to describe. It's fast. So they play it fast.
I would say that there is some overlap and some similarity in terms of ethos, in terms of...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Sort of tearing down the walls, at least in the early years, tearing down the walls between the band and the audience, being in the acid tests where they would just like get on stage. Maybe they would play, maybe they wouldn't, maybe they would be too spun to play and take a break, and there was no pressure, and they were just part of the scene.
Yeah.
And they weren't, put on a pedestal to any degree really at that point. And their kind of camaraderie with like the Hells Angels and just like
outlaws, rebels.
Yeah, outlaws, exactly. Musically, I feel like you would be a lot more hard pressed to find anything more than like I don't want to say polar opposites, but like kind of, because I know punk's whole thing initially, I think, at least as far as my vague understanding, is kind of a move away from like progressive rock, moving away from stuff that has like, weird time signatures or weird chord changes.
That's a part of it. But look, at the end of the day, punk is just a reformation of original rock and roll. The original rock and roll was punk. The punk rock is like going back to the roots. And there's an attitude, a tenacity, DIY attitude. One of the most punk rock figures of all time, in my opinion, is not even a musician. It's fucking Kevin Smith. He's one of the most punk rock artists who ever lived. He never picked up a guitar in his life. But what he did was more punk rock than anything that the fucking Clash did. That, you know what I'm saying? Like he embodies the pure spirit of punk rock, which is why he's always been why I love him so much. But before we continue on with our conversation, it's very important that we talk about things that sometimes get sticky. You know what sticks? You know what sticks a lot? It's very sticky.
Do I know?
Yeah.
I can think of a couple things.
You could think of a couple things. Well, for the sake of all the children listening to this stream at 11:13 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm actually specifically talking about stickers, particularly RIOT stickers, which is the sponsor of the Frumess channel. That's right. CEO Sharpie Riot has imbued confidence at all things here at the Frumess channel to give us a special promotion. When you go to riotstickers.com/Frumess, that's FRUMESS, link down in the description below, where you can follow Jeremy at Instagram, where he does he'll tell you all about that later. you go down there, you click on the link, you go to riotstickers.com/Frumess, and you can get 1,000 stickers for $79. That was really burying the lead. I should have started that. 1,000 stickers for $79. If you wanted to get a sticker of Jerry Garcia's paw print, which some people do, I don't know what the Jerry Garcia estate would say about that, but if you wanted to do that, you could do that when you go to riotstickers.com/Frumess, and you can get 1,000 stickers for $79. There is these stickers are 3 inches by 3 inches. They're printed on vinyl, which makes them kind of weatherproof. They have a UV coating, which protects them from the sun. And yeah, you just can't go wrong with Riot stickers at riotstickers.com/Frumess. 1,000 stickers for $79. Free shipping and handling. Working with CEO Sharpie Riot is a dream at riotstickers.com. Link in the description below.
Hi, I'm a guy from RiotStickers.com, the merch company known for being the bomb. Do you hate going to work,
but like getting paid?
Do you hate snow,
but want to?
Fuck, that was an old one. Son of a bitch. That was an old one. Let me go back to the
Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. We are the bomb. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com. We are the bomb. We are the bomb. We are the bomb. We are the bomb.
and that right there is a promise. Well, what do you got there, Jerry?
Oh, you know what? Remember I was telling you
What
there
is
was a
that?
continuity cam? This is my setup. This is my setup where I can sort of see and I can look over here. And it wasn't working the other day. It's working now. So boom, I'm looking right at you. Don't worry, I'm not gonna play anything.
So what do you do? What do you got going on? Wait, you're looking at me right now?
Yes, I'm looking right at you, baby.
Okay, that good. Keep your eyes on me. By the way, let's talk about that later. As I said, I was watching Tim and Eric's bedtime stories, which are just so fucking funny. But
is that
that's
not, project?
Huh?
Is that a new project of theirs?
No, that. Oh my God, have you not seen? Oh my God, that is you. You are.
A little bit.
Yeah, you're missing out. We'll talk about that later. I don't want to. Let's dive into the meat of the show. So we're here. Not only are we here to talk about Jerry, or we're here to talk about the Grateful Dead. We're here to talk about something very specific. Now, some years back, we did a whole show about Johnny Ramone's guitar. Now, Jerry might not be familiar with this. Spice might not be familiar with this. So I'm going to give a very, very quick primer on that. Johnny Ramone played the same guitar for over a decade, for years and years and years. The Ramones did almost as many shows as the Grateful Dead did. And 1,985 of those shows. Why do you think I remember that number so well? 1,985 of those shows were
because
played.
That's the year that Rocky IV was number one.
Exactly, dude, because Rocky IV is number one at the box office. Everybody knows that. Yeah. 1,985 shows were played on this guitar, as well as like 10 Ramones albums were recorded with this guitar. It's a priceless guitar. It sold for $1 million. The brand, it's called Mossrite Guitars, which is kind of like a weird brand that Johnny wanted to make his signature brand. He played that same guitar. He gave that guitar to Danny Ray, who's, he's like the fifth Ramone. He was producer and songwriter for the Ramones, played ghost writing guitar on the records and produced the records and this, that, and the other. And he wrote all the music for Pet Sematary. He sold the guitar famously for like $975,000, which is just insane to think about it. 20 years after Johnny had died, when Johnny's sole goal was to make $1 million and retire. And he did do that, but the idea that he could have just sold his guitar if he just waited another 20 years past his death, that he would have gotten $1 million. So I find that stuff fascinating. We have another relic that we are going to be looking at. This I've always found fascinating. Now, I didn't know there's a brand of guitar. It's kind of a famous brand of guitar. I don't even know what the fuck it's called. They're usually red and they got the curved horns. And to my head, I always like, oh, it's like a Jerry Garcia guitar. Cause I always remember that Jerry Garcia had this guitar with these weird sort of, it's kind of like a friend to the devil guitar because it's got like these horns on it. Let me just show you what it looks like. This is from the Christie's auction website. It's Jerry Garcia, a custom-built electric guitar known as Tiger. I believe 3 of these were made. There's Tiger, there's Wolf, and Jerry. What's the other one?
There was more than 3, although maybe only 3. Doug, maybe I could be mistaken. It could be only 3 were made by Doug Irwin, who was the custom maker of this guitar, as well as the Wolf. And then there was Rosebud.
Oh, Rosebud.
Tiger, and Rosebud, you could probably pull up an image of it, was kind of like an improved upon Tiger, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Wolf was first. Before that, there was the Alligator, but I think the Alligator may have just been a Stratocaster with an Alligator decal on it. I could be mistaken about that, but there was the Alligator, then there was the Wolf, then the Tiger, and then Rosebud.
We have a history here that we can look over, so we're going to do that in just a moment. Here's Jerry playing this guitar throughout the years. That's Doug Irwin, I'm guessing. Yeah, here you go. Guitar maker Doug Irwin works on the Tiger on June 19th. Now, the thing about guitars, here's like the kind of the magical, like the magical mystical thing about guitars is when you look how thin he was there, and still with his big beard.
I've seen this picture. It's kind of funny. It's something like 3,000 shows, 700 cities, 11 total members.
No, it's 29,000 songs, 29 countries. Yeah, sorry, go ahead. But
and then it's like one brief moment in time where Phil is fatter than Jerry, and it just happens to be this one photo where Phil has got a bit of a pot belly and Jerry is looking, uncharacteristically svelte in that picture, and just kind of a funny.
That's a parody of another Grateful Dead shirt, and that's I cut you off before you finished explaining it. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But here, the thing that's sort of magical about guitars, some guitars at least. Look, here's the back of it. Is that a guitar? Guitar players. For me personally, I'm not into sports at all. I could give a fuck about them. But guitar music is like my sports. That's how I liken music to sports. And I look at guitar players and singers and drummers and bass players. These are like the athletes. These are the point guards, the centers, the goalies, the guitar heroes. You know what I mean? And so, and another analogy is that for how knights. I know Jerry's a big Game of Thrones fan. The way that knights name their swords, they have famous, iconic swords. It's the same thing with these guitars, man. This guitar, it's the wand, right? It's like the wand of the magician conjuring up the sonic melodies to get very thematic for a Grateful Dead show to speak in these sort of silly ways. But look at the finish on it. We're going to read all about this guitar because I'm kind of interested to know more about its history. I know that after there's the case that it came in, and look, it's got a Tiger insignia on here.
You know about the controversy that happened with these guitars posthumously?
Yes, I do, because I read the book.
Yeah.
If what you're going to say is that the guitars were, now I know exactly what it is. Tell me if I'm right. What happened was Jerry Garcia dies in August of 1995. These guitars were commissioned and made with Grateful Dead money because the Grateful Dead are a corporation, are a business. And when Jerry died, the core four, as they're known, the other members, they wanted to recoup these guitars, or somebody in the organization. I won't say it was the core four, but some people wanted these guitars. People within the organization, band members, whoever, they wanted these guitars back. And Jerry, in his will, bequeathed them to the guy who made them, Doug Irwin. Is that the controversy you're referring to?
Yeah.
Fill us in with any details that I might have neglected.
You know, I don't recall. I just know that there was a lot of controversy with his will and with, you know, having these guitars.
Sure.
You know, he wanted to give them back to their creator, Doug Irwin, and the Grateful Dead as a corporation was like, no, these are our guitars. These are property.
We paid for them, right?
And I don't remember exactly what it is that they wanted to do with them, but I do believe that at some point they did wind up back in the hands of Doug Irwin after maybe some legal challenges, or I don't remember all the ins and outs.
In the book, this is what happened. They did go to Doug. I think that maybe what happened was maybe actually Doug had to pay some small fee for them, a couple $1,000 to get them back. But I mean, these were priceless guitars. Now, another question for you, Jeremy, that you might know. Do you recall besides playing live shows, did these guitars actually record on any albums?
I imagine they must have, but I don't happen to know that, you know, matter of factly.
I mean, these aren't just guitar instruments. These are art pieces. These are created by an artist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they weren't recording a ton by the 80s. I think there was maybe only two
records,
including Go to Heaven, which came out in 1980. I think it's just 3 records. I think it was Go to Heaven,
Wake the Flood.
No. That was
In the Dark.
Yes, In the Dark, and Built to Last.
Built to Last, right. That came out in the 90s. But there's another Grateful Dead record. There is almost an entire Grateful Dead record that remains unreleased, as far as I know, that they were working on in the studio, and it was never completed.
Interesting.
I believe you didn't know. I thought you would know that. And I do believe that I don't know that those tracks ever were released. And you kind of would imagine now that just about all of them are gone, that they would just put out something. Now, what is the estimated price for a guitar such as this? You would imagine it's priceless. It is priceless, but sometimes things need to have a monetary value placed upon them. And here, it's estimated to be $1 million to $2 million. Do you think? And the registration closes in 8 hours and 33 minutes, and the bidding is going to start at 17 hours and 33 minutes. So I guess I don't know what the starting bid is going to be, but I would imagine that this guitar is going to go for way more than $1 to $2 million. There's probably a lot of very wealthy deadheads out there who want this guitar.
Living in the Bay Area.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I
think it'll crack $1 million easily.
I think that's a given. Right?
Have you seen some of these other items that are, being auctioned along with this guitar?
No. Oh, I see it now. Before we get there, I would like to look at some of them, but I want to stay on topic because it'll be so easy to deviate. Let's look at this lot, and then we'll move on to some of the other ones, and we'll wrap it up here. So here are some details about this, and please, Jerry, interject anytime you feel you have some tidbit of knowledge to bequeath to us. It says, Jerry Garcia, a custom-built electric guitar known as Tiger, Doug Irwin, San Francisco, California, 1979. So they literally, in the same way that you would sort of list all the details for like what a painting is, they say they tell you about the painter, the title, but they also tell you like it was built on this kind of canvas with this kind of paint, and that this is the material. They do the same here because this is an art piece.
Not just that, but I mean, these are things that would be listed as specs. If this guitar had no historical significance and it wasn't, owned by Jerry Garcia, but it was just like a really well-made craftsman style guitar, they would absolutely list all of the, the wood that it's made out of. It's
sure.
Part of the tech specs.
I still think yes, but I just mean that like conceptually, it sort of it elevates what it is when you think about it in those terms. A solid body electric guitar, the body constructed of laminated cocobolo, maple, and
Cocobolo
yeah,
desk. Who had a Cocobolo desk?
I don't know. Oh, I know. In Seinfeld, someone in Seinfeld
Oh
did.
no, Slippin' Jimmy McGill,
Oh shit! There
also
you go.
known as
Saul
Good,
Goodman.
man.
Yeah.
Cocobolo desk. Sorry, go on.
In any way, this body is constructed of it's not just cocobolo, it's laminated cocobolo, maple and paddock with brass binding. I guess that's the metal that goes around the edge, right? Brass binding, the ebony fretboard inlaid with mother of pearl engraved Jerry Garcia at the 24th fret, inlaid below the bridge with a mother of pearl tiger on an ebony ground forming a preamp cover, the headstock inlaid with brass eagle flying over the globe, inlaid in abalone and mother of pearl, the back inlaid with the serial number 050 in mother of pearl, surrounded by abalone and brass foliage, Schaller two-nomatic style bridge with one DiMarzo SDS-1 single coil pickup. See, this is the stuff I don't know nothing about this. In the neck position, and two DiMarzio Super 2 humbuckers in the middle and bridge positions.
On that a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, those are the electronics.
Well, yeah, that I know. Yes, yeah, of course.
So a single coil pickup just has one. A humbucker has a second coil to kind of do some phase cancellation to reduce buzz. Is what a humbucker is.
There you go.
So a humbucker is a double coil pickup.
There you go. You're laying it down for us, and it comes in a custom hard case shell with the tiger sticker, with strap, used strings, and various pickups, an additional modern flight case and modern glass display vitrine, accompanied by a 1/3 miniature model guitar and a collection of concert lanyards for Dead & Co. and the Grateful Dead. Now, what's interesting too here, it talks about the strings. It reminds me of, D. Boone of the Minutemen, who died tragically in a car accident a month after I was born and 2 days before you were born, or roughly around the time you were born, D. Boone died. Maybe you're the reincarnation of him. And his guitar with its original strings remain, with the blood that has rusted over onto the guitar strings. Mike Watt hangs on to this guitar, and it just is like a memento of his friend. And he's got, like I said, he's got the bloody, rusty guitar strings. It made me think of that. So here's the actual history of the guitar now. The actual history of the guitar. Jerry Garcia commissioned the custom-built Tiger in 1973, urging Luthier. I love that name for someone who builds guitars. Luthier. Doug Irwin to craft the most extravagant instrument he was capable of, the finished guitar composed of dazzling exotic woods sandwiched together with ordnate brass bindings. Took Irwin around 2,000 hours to complete over 6 years. Named for the tiger inlay just below the tailpiece, Tiger was first unleashed on stage on August 4th, 1979 at the Oakland Civic Auditorium, after which Garcia would play this guitar almost exclusively until mid-1989. From the early 1970s, Garcia was becoming increasingly dissatisfied with the limitations of the mass-produced electric guitar models marketed by the likes of Fender and Gibson, and began to seek a more bespoke instrument that could better fulfill his diverse tonal and technical requirements over an entire set without the need to chop and change guitars for different sounds during extended performances. So it's interesting that, because the Grateful Dead, as we all know, would play sometimes would they ever play 3 sets?
Yeah, it would happen. I mean, I don't think it was the norm, but definitely on New Year's
So there you
and
go.
other special occasions as well.
So they're playing multiple sets on the same in the same show. The Grateful Dead songbook is diverse in its catalog, and so here is a guy who is constantly on stage doing all sorts of improvisation across a diverse song catalog and needs an instrument that can endure throughout the entirety of the set without having to change up the guitars in order to get different sounds.
Yeah, and as you know, I mean, the Grateful Dead, at least since the early 70s, were big pioneers in live sound.
Oh yes, the wall of sound.
Wall of sound. And so if you watch the Grateful Dead movie, which I believe was shot, I think it came out in 75 and was filmed in
Came out in 77.
Was that?
Didn't it come out in 77?
That may be, but I know it was definitely recorded in 74, and I know Jerry was working. It's somewhere between 75 and 77, but it was recorded in 74, and Phil goes into this, he sort of does a little demonstration of the bass that he's working with at the time. And at the time, he's working with an alembic bass, which has all types of crazy electronics in it, so that I think he's sending, like, each string is being sent to like a different subsection of the wall of sound. They were into doing pretty far out experimental things with their instruments from a pretty early point. So it makes sense that, 73 or so would have been when he commissioned this particular piece.
Right. And they had the resources because they had 3 different walls of sound, I believe. And they were, or maybe it was 2. And they would have to send one wall of sound ahead of the wall of sound that they were currently using in order for it to be set up and ready so that they could then use that one, and until it became too cumbersome. So yeah, they had the resources. So for a guitar like this of such magnitude to be built, makes sense that they could do it. The essay continues with the writer saying, "I'm the kind of player who generally plays one." Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. That's actually a quote from Jerry to an interviewer. This is what Jerry says. "I'm the kind of player who generally plays one guitar at a time so I could learn its idiosyncrasies," Garcia told John Sivert for Guitar Player in 1978. "I really seek a kind of universal guitar, something that will sound like anything I want it to at any given moment," which is really kind of interesting because normally, especially when you consider like the excess of 70s rock and roll, like we don't want one guitar. We're going to have a fleet of guitars ready to go at our whim for whatever flavor of sonic indulgence we can muster out of our minds, right? Garcia was at that time playing a modified Stratocaster known as Alligator when he stumbled across a young luthier, Doug Irwin, during a visit to the Alembic's San Francisco workshop in 1972.
Alembic is the maker of the bass that I was referring to. And they make some really far out stuff. You can look.
I bet. I mean, look at his guitar, man.
Yeah.
Look at his guitar. Irwin had been training under Alembic's Rick Turner and Frank Fuller for 2 years, and was then working on the first of his own designs, which would become known as Eagle. And it's interesting, when you think about that. I mean, it's like it's an apprentice art, right? Like you do that. And you work under the tutelage of a master, just like blacksmiths do. Hanrahan, Joel, sorry if I butchered your name, Joel. Alembic guitar basses are crazy expensive, but very beautiful looking instruments. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it here. In any case, so he worked on a guitar known as Eagle while working at Alembic. "I had a chance to work on my own projects after hours," wrote Irwin in 2002. obviously through my experiences there, I had learned the various construction styles and the pluses and minuses of each. And I considered all of this when I began my design for my first D. Irwin guitar in 1971. My first guitar was not quite finished, but while I was working in the back of the shop on some pickups, I had left it out in front of the store. A couple of the guys came back to the workshop to tell me that Jerry Garcia was out front and wanted to buy my guitar. He told me that he liked the way the neck felt and bought the guitar right there on the spot for $850. Garcia was so impressed with Irwin's work that he immediately commissioned him to build another guitar with electronics designed to his custom specifications. Jerry says in the comments, I spent many a nights 20 feet from Tiger in places like Stony Brook Gymnasium and Bushnell Auditorium. Hey, Jerry, do you have any like interesting memories that you might want to share of those nights being 20 feet away from Tiger and such as we continue to read on? Thus began a long association between the guitarist and the luthier that would see Garcia playing Irwin's instruments almost exclusively for the next 20 years. That's profound. There's something in the way they feel with my touch. They're married to each other, Garcia told Sivert in 1988. The reason I went with his guitars in the first place was that they just fell into my hand perfectly. I can't even explain why. It wasn't just a matter of action. Now, when he says action, he's talking. What is the? I can't verbal. Can you verbalize that? You know what that means?
Yeah. So it's basically the height between where the strings lie and basically how far down you have to push them to get to the fret, to the
right.
To the keyboard.
And then
so a high action guitar, there's more space between the strings and the fret, and so low action would be
right. That's what I'm thinking. High action and low action specifically. I'd heard. It wasn't just a matter of action; it just felt right. Irwin completed Garcia's first custom order, a neck-through body design of maple and amaranth with Stratocaster pickups at a cost of $1,500 in May 1973. Garcia was so blown away with the guitar, later named Wolf for the cartoon Wolf sticker he would apply below the bridge, that he placed yet another custom order there and then, instructing Irwin to make the most extravagant guitar he was capable of. Now, what's interesting is because when they speak of these guitars, I had always thought they were just all the same, cut from the same cloth. But the way that it's described here in this essay, it really seems that Tiger was the echelon, was the creme de la creme of this guitarmanship, this guitar work. That these Alligator and Wolf they were just working up to what would be Tiger, which is kind of interesting. He said, I want you to make me another one, but I don't want you to hold back. I just want you to go for it. I'm not, and this is how much trust he had in Doug. He said, I'm not going to tell you what I want. You can just make it the way that you want, recounted Irwin in 2004 interview for Grateful Dead fan site, Dozen.com. Can you just think for a moment, for just a split second there, Jerry, think for a moment about the kind of trust. You think about the money. You think about the fact that his reputation is online because he's got to perform with this guitar. He's spending all this money on this guitar. He's going to probably perform with it. All of the confidence that you have to invest in someone in order to do something like that. It's kind of profound.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that what it seems to me, if I had to guess, is that Jerry basically found what he considered to be some sort of kindred spirit in Doug Irwin, because that first one that he bought had, Jerry had put absolutely zero input into, right? This is something that Doug made to his own specifications.
Right.
That was something that, is like Doug styled. And when Jerry picked it up, it felt so perfect. And so I imagine Jerry probably even felt that if he was going to micromanage, or if he was going to give too detailed specifications, that might diminish the magic of Doug Irwin and his own personal choices, because it seems like, up until this point, Doug Irwin chasing his own muse was what was so perfect for Jerry. So it seems like Jerry was probably like, let me get out of the way. Let me let this man do his magic, because I love everything he's done so far, and just put his faith in him.
Yeah. And the work speaks for itself, right? Doug continues in this interview. He says, I just thought to myself, geez, how many times does anybody in their life get a chance to do this where somebody says, yeah, go for it. Don't hold back. Do it the way you want to. I really made an effort to make it my best effort. It's a guitar unlike anyone I've ever built since then. Now, what's the other thing that's interesting, the other notion here to really kind of wrap our minds around that like really kind of blows my mind is like Jerry waited 6 years for this guitar. He waited 6 fucking years for this guitar, dude. He didn't just, it wasn't just like, oh, 6 months, here's my guitar shipped to me via Amazon.com. He was for the duration of the 70s, he was just waiting and biding his time and just thinking, oh boy, this guy's making me a guitar, and he's, I don't know how much money over the course of 6 years. It's a lot of money. It's got to be a lot of money. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about it. By the way, for anybody who's just joining us and really likes this discourse, you might also like some of the wonderful curated music that my guest co-host here, Jerry, aka DJ Spicy Hands, likes to spin from time to time. Go follow him on Instagram for wonderful clips. He's constantly curating music from his own personal collection. You can't go wrong. He's a talent to behold. Whilst Wolf was immediately established as Garcia's go-to guitar, Irwin dedicated more than 2,000 hours over the next 6 years to meticulously crafting his most exquisite instrument yet, with the finest materials that he could source from all over the world. This is kind of redundant now. We've already said that. The finished guitar was a work of art with contrasting layers of we already read that, blah blah blah. Garcia would play Wolf until July 1979. So Wolf and Alligator, these guitars were just biding their time. He was biding his time with these guitars until Irwin finally delivered the completed Tiger at a cost of $5,800 in 1979 dollars. Jerry, can you do a quick Google calculation for me and
What is it? 6 grand?
5,800.
Okay, so $5,800.
Yeah.
In 1979.
Yeah.
Let's say adjusted for inflation.
Yeah.
We're looking at about 26 grand.
26 grand for a single guitar. He waited. I mean, that is nuts. That is absolutely nuts. Jerry in the comments says, we would go to shows just to see it. Same with Bill Monroe's Lloyd Lore. Sorry about the spelling, fellas. The Tiger cover on the bottom was also used as a stash. I used to work with Steve Parrish's brother-in-law. Tiger was paid for by the band's money, which would make it the band's property, hence the lawsuits after he died, right? And that's what we were discussing, that controversy. But yeah, we were talking about that before. Garcia attempted to explain, speaking to guitar player John Sievert some 9 years later, Garcia attempted to explain what he had loved about this guitar when he first played it. I'm not analytical about guitars, but I know what I like. And when I picked up that guitar, I never felt anything before or since like that my hand likes better. It's more like a Strat than anything else. The simplest way to think about it is as a Strat with a Les Paul neck. but really the neck is not a Paul because it doesn't have an arched fingerboard. It's flat like a banjo neck. I've had that guitar all this time, and I've set the bridge once and never had the neck straightened. That sucker still is flat as an aircraft carrier. Not only that, but the frets haven't worn down, and I've been playing it all this time. So, I mean, this really is an Excalibur when you look at it. The guitar's innovative electronics included, we've already read that about the pickups and the blah, 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 a 5-position pickup selector switch and 2 3-way toggles for coil selection on the humbuckers, hum canceling dual and single coil, a master volume control, neck, bridge, and middle pickup tone controls, a unity gain buffer, and a mini toggle switch for the effective. I'm not going to pretend that I know even a fraction of what all that stuff is, but it's just a bunch of really techie guitar shit for musicians. As with Wolf before it, there were 2 output jacks, one running a mono directly to Garcia's Fender Twin, the other to the effects rack and back. Okay, that is crazy. And I'm not sure that are there a lot of guitars out there that have 2 output jacks like that for those purposes?
Yeah, I certainly wasn't aware that that was a feature on this one. And it's, you know, I'm not super up to snuff about modern guitars and stuff, but it's not something that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely seems very unique. It kind of reminds me of what the fuck is the name of the rig? The war rig in Mad Max Fury Road, which has 2 twin diesel V8 engines for maximum thrust. The signal then goes through, I use a stereo cord, and the signal goes from the pickups to the tone controls and the pickup switch. The signal then goes through the effects back into a network box and up the B side of the stereo cord back into the instrument before the volume pot and then out to the amp. The effects, and think about that, that's happening at the speed of light. The effects always see the guitar as if it had full output voltage. The remainder of Garcia's stage setup at this time comprised 2 Fender twin amp preamps into Garcia's preferred Macintosh 2300 power amp Budman. So that's another lot on this collection. Out to a Hard Truckers 3x12 cabinet with JBL 120 speakers. With Tiger, Garcia finally had the universal guitar he had been seeking, the one instrument that could produce any sound he might want to summon on stage at any moment. In conversation with Sievert for Guitar Player in 1988, Garcia explained in some depth how he achieved such a variety of sounds with this guitar. He says, I have basically the clean sound and the fuzzed out sound. Those are my 2 basic colors. And I love the way that he refers to the sounds as colors, right? The rest of it has to do with the way that I had my knobs set and my effects. My guitar's treble cuts are not normal. They have capacitors in them so that when I roll the volume back, the tone stays the same. I have a unity gain amplifier in my guitars. That's the only reason I have it, so I can change volume without changing the tone. The capacitors also serve as resonance boosters so that when I roll the knob all the way, I get kind of a hollow horn-like quality with plenty of cut left to play a solo. It doesn't really filter the way a wah-wah pedal does. It's not that narrow. It's more of a resonance boost. God, the ability to just have the language to talk about sound in this way. It's crazy to read. So I only choose the pots and the capacitor combination that produces the kind of effect so that it gives me an all the way on, all the way off on each pickup, which provides 6 basic tone voices. Then when I put those through the fuzz, it invents a new high end because of the way the fuzz here's the low end or the mid-range resonance. I could have just fucking said a whole bunch of gobbledymush, but if I had said it with conviction, it might have sounded like it was real.
I'd convict you.
Yeah, I know you would. You no longer have the bright, screaming high end where you can pick out harmonics, although the fuzz adds a high end that big. I mean, this is getting to the point now where I don't even know how to I can't even conceptualize the stuff that's being said here. Brings out the fullness of the interior sound. Sometimes when I play a blues chorus or something, when I use the distorted sound, I change the tone by whipping the knob all the way down. Most of the time, the tone knob is totally useless, but in this case, it really does change the tone. I also have a 5-position Stratocaster type pickup selector, so I can use half positions in and out of phase, and with the humbucking and the single coil switch on each pickup. So right there, that's like 12 discrete possible voices that are all pretty different. So to sum all of that up, he has a variety of settings that and methodologies that he can combine within the single guitar that allow him to have 12 discrete possible voices, or, you know, variations of the shades of those two basic colors, the clean tone and the fuzz tone, as he was saying, right? And the whole thing with guitar and effects is getting something where you can hear the difference. And that gives me a lot of vocabulary of basically different tones. He uses the word vocabulary when speaking about the different tones that he's trying to get. Tonal vocabulary, if you will. And that's just the electronics. The rest of it is touch. So he was just talking about the hardware. He's not talking about the actual technique, the pressure that goes into with playing the guitar, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can relate in the sense that, you know, growing up, like when I used to play guitar, I had like a cheap, you know, $300 Epiphone.
I remember that.
And I loved playing it. When I got that guitar for my birthday that year, I remember I never practiced so much in my life because it was just a joy to play. Now, however, there was a time when we were at, you know, one of these friends whose parents were just stinking rich and, you know, were novice guitar players like myself, but who bought them like a $1,200 like PRS. And I remember having this PRS in my hand and playing it. And, you know, PRS is like what Carlos Santana plays. And
oh, wow.
And I just remember it being just feeling so natural. It's just like smooth and like easy to play. And so there's definitely, you know, the guitar you're playing definitely makes a difference for sure.
I also think it depends on the kind of music you're playing too, because if you're playing like snotty, raw punk rock or garage, it's more about the music you're playing and the attitude and the strumming than maybe like whatever you're on is gonna fucking get the job done.
Yes,
as opposed to
100%. But even if that's the music that you're playing and you're playing, you know, like
yeah.
power chords, you will feel the difference just in the way the strings move. Just, you know what I mean? It'll be a different playing experience. You are playing the same 3 chords. You know, it just has a different feel about it. You know, it feels like butter.
And mind you, you know, Jerry, I couldn't say it's the same as Tony Iommi, whose technique is directly affected by the fact that he lost the tips of his fingers. But Jerry had his finger run over by a train or something like that.
No. His brother chopped it off when they were cutting wood.
Is that what happened? I always thought it was on a railroad.
No, his brother Tiff chopped it off by accident when they were
fucking crazy. So his brother chopped off his finger with an axe. But like, you have to think that also affected his technique in some way, the way that he strummed the guitar, something.
I'm sure it must have, you know, I mean, even though it was his picking hand, I'm sure it had some sort of impact without a doubt.
Without a doubt. I mean, you have to imagine too, when he's playing banjo, when he's doing finger pickings and stuff, that like that, all that stuff has to change, right?
Such an avid banjo player at first.
Yeah. Look at that. You see the chord there. Look, it looks like it's actually a single chord that sort of fork tongues into 2 chords that then goes into the 2 output jacks. What a beast of a guitar, man. Garcia made his first appearance with Tiger at the Oakland Civic Center. We said that already on August 4th, 1979. It would remain his primary guitar for the next 11 years, the longest period that any of his axes would enjoy such status for a continuous run. The Oakland shows on 4th and 5th of August were also notable as the first time the Grateful Dead performed the songs Althea and Lost Sailor, both of which would be recorded for the next studio album, recorded at the Dead's private studio, Le Club Front, in San Rafael, which I stayed in San Rafael for a week, from July 1979 to January 1980. So that's interesting. So that's where they recorded. They recorded there.
Yep.
Huh. That's where they recorded Go to Heaven. I was at the place where I was in the city where they recorded Go to Heaven. That's cool.
Well, San Rafael was a big headquarters for them. That's where all the like the tickets by mail, like if you wanted
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, if you wanted to do a request, for tickets, you like Grateful Dead ticket. There was a certain PO box in San Rafael that you would send your request to. For tickets. And I believe also that's where they're. That's definitely where Phil's cafe club, his dinner club, Terrapin Crossroads was in. San
Right, where you could get an omelet. Yeah. Which shut down. That shut down.
Yeah, it shut down a little while back, and also, it's hard to keep those places profitable.
Oh, for sure. But listen, that's where he really. That was also kind of like whatchamacallit. That was a place for him to really workshop Phil and Friends, right? Like that he was.
Maybe, I don't know, because by the time that place opened, Phil and Friends had been pretty much established. I know it's where he would sort of workshop like Graham, his son's band, and like the sort of like Lesh family kind of like low key stuff. But for actual like Phil and Friends, he was by the time that place was open, he was really focused more on Portchester actually, in terms of playing live.
Wow.
He had done something, I think in 2013, he signed some deal with Pete Shapiro about like playing 30 shows a year in Portchester. And I think he was only he didn't want to tour anymore post Further. He wanted to just play, at his home base, like in San Rafael or in Portchester, which, Portchester is a legendary place for more than just that reason, but definitely for that reason.
When he's saying Portchester, he's talking about the Capitol Theater.
Capitol Theater in Portchester,
which is where we live. He lived right next to it. He was right there, but we lived very close to the Capitol Theater for our whole lives.
Yes, and we're right in its shadow, getting shouts to Pat's Hubba Hubba.
Yeah,
R.I.P. Pat's Hubba Hubba, but Texas Chili
still exists.
Texas Chili in Portchester.
Yes. In fact, you just even saying that right now, I kind of have a hankering for it. I don't know.
And I will tell you also, I was in 2013 when Bobby and Phil were playing together in a band called Further.
Right.
They did I believe it was a 9-night run. It could be a 13. No, it was 2013. April of 2013. They did a 9-night run at the Capitol Theater in Portchester. And I don't know if you're familiar with Jay Lane. Jay Lane was the drummer for Rat Dog from which was Bobby's band.
That I know.
And he was also the original drummer, I believe, or if not the original drummer, an early stand-in drummer for Primus. He was a major drummer in the Primus, like Les Claypool whole scene, and he was in Further, right?
Yeah.
When Further formed, they had two drummers, similar to the Grateful Dead. Those drummers were Joe Russo, who plays in a band called J-Rad now. Joe Russo's almost dead. And the second drummer was Jay Lane. Jay Lane left Further about halfway through their run because he was asked to join back up with Primus and do the Primus tours. But what Jay Lane did, which was really awesome, was he hosted these after parties at the Copacabana Brazilian Steakhouse in
Oh, shit. I know where that is.
Yeah. And they started around midnight. So every night after the Further show, where all the, that at the
That was
Capitol
the after
Theater,
party.
they had this after party, and you'd go there and there'd be like maybe 30, maybe 50 people in attendance.
Wow.
Small little thing,
Yeah.
little shindig, and it was Jay Lane playing with these jazz and funk musicians playing mostly Grateful Dead covers. And each night he would have a different guest. And one of the nights he had John Kadlisic, who was the Jerry Garcia part in Further. And he'd have, and then Joe Russo would come and sit in. And one night, and so I was working till 12 every night because I worked the late shift, and I'd get out, and I didn't get to go to the Further show because that was $100 anyway, and who had money for that? But every night after work, I'd go to the Copacabana Brazilian Steakhouse, and one of those nights, Bob Weir came out and played.
You must have been happier than a pig in shit.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, it was the very first thing I ever posted on my Instagram ever, was a picture of Bobby up on stage with Jay Lane and these like local musicians who I'm still not sure who they were.
Did you get to meet Bobby? Like, was it like very cash?
He was walking through the crowd to get on stage, and I touched his shoulder. I had a moment of hesitation.
So you connected with him. You did.
I connected with him. Yes, we touched.
Did you lick your hand afterwards?
No, but I went right to the bathroom and I did something else.
You know what you did? You did a rendition of Bobby and the Midnights. That's what
yes, exactly. But what I'll say is, I don't really. Well, what I will say is, when Bobby got up there and he played, I don't remember him hearing anything he played. I'm pretty sure he just fucked with the switches and the levels and the electronics on his guitar pretty much the whole time. I don't think he played a single note.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish reading this article and we're going to wrap it up here. So, considering its extensive use on stage throughout the 1980s, it's probable that Tiger was also Garcia's go-to guitar for studio recordings during this period. However, there is little photo evidence available to confirm. A Saturday Night Live appearance on April 5th, 1980, for which Garcia played Tiger, an extensive radio play helped make the album's lead single, Alabama Getaway, a minor hit for the group. In fact, I believe there's a music video for that song, right? With Bobby Weir, where he's like kind of like looking all snazzy.
You were thinking of Hell in a Bucket, which is a little yeah.
Okay. And that's 9 years later.
He's all snazzy, and there's the duck on the bar. Really pretty interesting music video.
The Dead celebrated their 15th anniversary that fall with a 15-night run of shows at San Francisco's Warfield Theater, followed by 2 shows in New Orleans, an 8-night run at New York City's Radio City Music Hall, culminating in a closed-circuit telecast to the East Coast theaters for Halloween. Garcia's performances on Tiger can be heard on the live album from these shows, Dead Set, right?
And Dead then Set. Reckoning, they also, from the same run of shows, they recorded Reckoning, but that was acoustic.
The shows at Radio City Music Hall on October 30th and 31st were recorded for a concert video, Grateful Dead Ahead, first released in 1981. Although Garcia's severe drug addiction meant that he wrote and recorded very little through the early to mid-'80s, the Dead were still regularly packing arenas around the country and playing more destination venues on tour, like Berkeley's Greek Theater and Red Rocks in Colorado. For the group's 20th anniversary in April of 1985, they spent 3 days recording their performances to the empty Marin Veterans Auditorium in San Rafael for a planned video project. In the summer of 1986, Garcia almost died when he unexpectedly fell into a diabetic coma. Months of shows were canceled as he slowly recuperated and found that he had to relearn to play the guitar. Grateful to be alive and drug-free for the first time in years, he was back to form when the band returned to stage at the Oakland Coliseum that December. They returned to Marin Veterans Auditorium in the new year to record their 12th studio album, In the Dark, released in July. Oh, I always thought it came out in 89. July 1987, the album was an unprecedented success for the Dead, selling 2 million copies and soaring to number 6 on the charts, with the lead single, Touch of Grey, being their first top 10 hit. Garcia plays Tiger in the group's first ever music video for Touch of Grey, which is an amazing music video, except for the fact that Jerry Garcia, there's nothing wrong with this, but Jerry Garcia's skeleton looks like it has these 2 giant titties, which are really just the rib cage, but it's fucking weird looking, man.
I want you to hold that thought for a moment. Continue
Sure.
with me for about 30 seconds.
Sure. Wait, continue talking. Okay. Which saw a band of skeleton marionettes morph into the Dead, performing on the stages themselves. It's a great music video. I love that music video. The musical documentary video, Grateful Dead So Far, was also released that year, featuring that 1985 Marin Vets footage. This is just telling you what was here. December 31st, 1985 concert. So Jerry was born by then. Jerry was 3 days old when they performed this concert at the Oakland Almedia Country Coliseum. Garcia plays Tiger. This is just literally a list of all the fucking things that he played. Blah, 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 blah.
Something that you might be interested in. You mentioned their music video
Jesus
for
Christ.
Touch of Grey.
Yes.
So I have this fun little
Oh, cool. Hold on. Let me make this bigger.
The making of Touch of Grey.
How cool.
The behind the scenes thing, and it's actually directed by Justin Kreutzmann, who is the son of Bill Kreutzmann.
Right.
Yeah, it's a fun little videotape.
How long is it?
It's 30 minutes.
Nice.
And it shows, sort of, because they had to make those marionettes of the skeletons and stuff. So there's behind the scenes of that. So it's kind of cool. I don't know.
That is cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Tiger was evidently a much-loved guitar throughout this period, treated with kid gloves by Garcia's crew. In a 1988 interview with Guitar Player magazine, Garcia's longtime equipment manager, Steve Parrish, said of Tiger, "That guitar is really like an art piece. I love taking care of it because it's such a one-of-a-kind thing. I literally keep it with me all the time when Jerry doesn't have it. It's like a good friend." Years later, he would tell the San Francisco Chronicle's pop music editor, Joel Selvin, "We slept with these instruments. You could lose amps. You could break things, and sometimes we did, but I could never look Jerry in the eye and say, 'I don't have your guitar.'" Tiger continued to serve as Garcia's main guitar throughout 1988 and most of 89 until he became interested in building MIDI synthesizers into his guitar, that is very strange, which would allow him. Sorry.
When they started doing the MIDI synthesizer stuff, you'd hear him play, and it's like he's playing a lead, but it sounds like a trumpet, but it doesn't sound like a good trumpet. It sounds like a late 80s, early 90s MIDI trumpet, and it's
He probably loved that, though.
I don't love it. I bet back then it was
really but he was probably it was cutting edge technology, and he was just floored.
Was really into that type of thing. Besides music, Jerry was really into like technology and film and that kind of stuff. So
would allow him a full assortment of guitar tones and other instrument sounds such as woodwinds and strings. Following successful MIDI experiences, we got our friend Mark is in the chat talking about this very thing. Oh, hi, Mark. The Rosebud, saying that guitar's name was Rosebud, I guess. Yes. Following the successful MIDI experiments on his Black Strat, which Garcia trialed on stage during the free improvisational jam section of the Dead concerts known as Space in spring of 1989, it was decided to retrofit Wolf as a MIDI guitar. For a period during July 1989, Garcia would play Tiger during a show, switched to the MIDI'd Wolf for space, and then returned to Tiger. However, it wasn't long before Garcia wanted to introduce MIDI effects to the rest of the set, and so Wolf became the everyday guitar once more from around September 1989. However, it would only be a few months until Garcia debuted a new Doug Irwin masterpiece on December 31st, 1989, which would supplant the MIDI'd Wolf as his favorite instrument. Already pre-wired with MIDI and synth control, the new Irwin was of a similar design to Tiger, but was considerably lighter and featured a dancing skeleton inlay holding a rose, which earned the name Rosebud. Garcia continued to use Tiger occasionally, most notably during his November 1991 run with the Jerry Garcia Band, as the guitar's hardware had been ravaged by years of sweat on stage. Irwin personally refurbished Tiger in around 1992, installing new brass hardware, fresh electronics, and refinishing the cover plate while preserving the instrument's original character. Rosebud was eventually succeeded by a replica of Tiger that arrived in 1993. Its body carved from an old Chinese opium bed. Wow. I was not expecting that. By a then unknown Florida woodworker called Stephen Kripe, which Garcia nicknamed Lightning Bolt. While it has long been reported that Garcia played Tiger for the final encore of his last show with the Grateful Dead at Chicago Soldier Field on July 9th, 1995, Steve Parrish has recently clarified that it was, in fact, Garcia's final show with the Jerry Garcia Band rather than the Grateful Dead, where Tiger made its final appearance. According to Parrish, Garcia turned to his old friend Tiger when Rosebud began to experience technical problems towards the end of his set at the Warfield Theater in San Francisco on the 23rd of April in 1995. Garcia passed away less than 4 months later after suffering a heart attack on August 9th, 1995. Garcia's only bequest to someone outside of his immediate family was to Doug Irwin. Isn't that fucking insane? So of everybody, of his bandmates, of everybody else, the only person that outside of his immediate family was Doug Irwin, intending for all four of his custom-built Irwin guitars to be returned to their maker. The Grateful Dead partnership sued to fight the... I don't know that fucking word. Oh, you can't see what I'm seeing. Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry.
Let's see.
What does that say?
Codicil, maybe?
Codicil, yeah, the fight the codicil. Well, something we do, Jerry, on the Frumess channel, when we don't know what the meaning of a word is, we look that fucker up.
Okay.
Unfortunately, and we try to look up every word that we don't know because we're trying to expand our vocabulary. It means an addition or supplanted that explains, modifies, or revokes one and or part. Okay, sorry, continue. We're almost at the end of this fucking thing. This is a long fucking essay. I did not realize how long.
You're reading the whole thing.
Sorry?
I'm surprised you're reading the whole thing.
Oh, it's fucking fascinating.
It is.
Maintaining that the band's members collectively owned all instruments purchased with the Dead funds. I think personally in that sort of situation, it's like, dude, the guy fucking built these guitars that came from his creativity. It was Jerry's final wishes to give them to him. Give Doug the ability to buy out. Like the Grateful Dead should have been like, the remaining members of the Grateful Dead or whoever it was should have been like, hey man, we'll give you these guitars back. Buy us out. We'll put you on a payment plan or something. You buy us out for a pre-agreed upon price, and you can have all four of the guitars. And that would have, I don't know. I guess the guitars ended up with Irwin anyway, but like still, it's just like the idea of how kind of petty after the death of your fucking leader of your band to fucking, I don't know. It's kind of shitty in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, who knows the ins and outs of what goes
right.
on? Maybe they were jealous of the fact that none of them were bequeathed anything, and maybe that set them off.
Ultimately, a settlement was agreed where Irwin would inherit two guitars, Wolf and Tiger, and the Dead would keep Rosebud and Headless, an unusual Irwin design with no tuning pegs that Garcia had never played. I think that's a pretty good compromise, especially because he got Wolf and Tiger out of the 4 guitars. I think that's a pretty good compromise, all things considering. Irwin auctioned off both Wolf and Tiger in 2002 when the present guitar was acquired by Jim Irsay, who this is from the Jim Irsay collection right now. Irsay has since allowed select musicians, including Warren Haynes and Kenny Wayne Shepherd, to play the legendary guitar for Grateful Dead fans at occasional tribute events, including the Jerry Garcia Symphonic Celebration for his 74th birthday in 2016 and Garcia's 75th birthday celebration in 2017. Because Garcia's music lives on and there's a need to preserve the instruments that created the sound, Irsay told Rolling Stone in a 2016 statement. Could not agree more. I know this instrument in the right hands can produce a sound capable of moving the human spirit, dance to tears, and every motion in between. Thoughts, comments, feelings after hearing that whole essay, Jerry?
You know, I have mixed feelings about it. I think obviously this guitar has a ton of, you know, like magic, right? Like there's magic that's been like accrued in the instrument just by where it's been played, who it was played by, and its history. And I think also, obviously, it's a very advanced piece. You know, it's a very advanced instrument and certainly a work of art. But also, I'm at the same time, I hold the view that, you know, a great guitarist is going to sound great on whatever guitar he plays. I mean, I think that's not just something I believe, but that's something that's evident, you know, that you can just see. I mean, you know, guitarists who are famous for playing a certain guitar, and then one night they're up there playing a Strat, they still sound like the same guitarist. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't know if I entirely. Then, mind you, I'm literally sort of inversing what I said prior. I don't know if I entirely believe that, but I think there's
some differences, sure. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, you know, a great guitarist is, and I think, you know, Jerry's want and desire for it, I think is totally legit, because if you're gigging like he does and playing that much and on that high of a level, you want something that you can always rely upon and that you don't have to switch guitars, you know, mid gig and stuff like that. So it does warrant having something really advanced and technically excellent like that. But at the same, and, you know, in terms of like owning it, I mean, I don't know, man. I hope whoever owns it, I'm sure they'll take care of it, but I hope that, you know, these days are they buying it to flip it, you know, in a couple of years as an investment, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, no. That's, you know, you never know what somebody's dubious. I'm sorry. Some of this lot is just fucking incredible. And if it wasn't fucking midnight, I would sit here and pour over even more of it, because it's just so fascinating.
Our friend who was just there posted some pictures, and some of the stuff that I saw, I mean, like the scroll that on the on the road was written on by Kerouac, like it's like a big scroll. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff there. So yeah.
I think that's it. I think we did the show.
Okay.
We did the show. That was great.
If you don't mind, I'm just going to.
Well, tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do.
Okay. So what I do, what I've started doing recently is, well, let me put it this way, right? I'm a lifelong collector of music. My whole life, as far as I can remember, I always spent my allowance on CDs, CD player, mini disc player, as you know. I've always been a collector of music, and I've always been someone who likes to go deep in independent radio stations, college radio, jazz radio, where there are DJs who curate selections of music. And when I dig deep like that, and when I hear these DJs play music that I haven't heard before and share tidbits and nuggets and information, it's something that brings me a lot of joy. And it's something that I've always wanted to reciprocate. And, I had a college radio station, radio show in college for an hour every week where I sort of selected some songs on iTunes, put it in a playlist, and then played it for an hour, and hope people tuned in. But I recently acquired some equipment that has allowed me to take my lifelong curated collection of records and CDs and put them to use. And so I have started a channel. I've actually taken my personal Instagram channel and I'm opened it up, made it public, and I'm going to be going live on there and on Mixcloud. And I've just started about maybe 2 weeks ago. I have a neat little setup here where what I use is this Vestax CDX 16. It's got 2 CD decks and a 2-channel mixer, and I plug my turntable into that. And basically, the rules are I can only play music that I own, that I have physical copies of. So it challenges me a bit to be creative. I can't just go on Spotify or even go on my own personal digital archive, because it would be too easy. So pretty much I'm choosing on the fly what songs to play. I play a lot of funk, a lot of boogie. I have some Brazilian music, definitely some hip hop, some trip hop, down tempo, rhythm and blues, you name it. And, I go CD to record to CD to record because I only have one turntable. So it's got to be that way. And you can find me at Handler Spice on Mixcloud. I know people don't really have Mixcloud. The only people on Mixcloud really are other DJs, and they're not tuning in. So I'm trying to go live on Instagram. I'm trying to build a following right now. I'm Handler Spice on Instagram. You can find me there. Like I said, ton of music that I just would love to play for people. And, that's what I do. It's a side project of mine. Still learning, very much still learning, but that's what we're going for here.
That's what he's doing, guys. That's
what
what he's doing. So, so as you see, I put the link over here, and Jeremy is going to be guesting sporadically. I don't know, just sort of for a little bit, as he tries to build up some of his following, and we love having him here. And he's been really nice to have you over these last 2 shows. So I'd like to thank Jeremy for his contributions. Go follow him on Instagram. I'm going to say
my distinct honor and pleasure.
I'm going to say peace and hair grease. Hang on 1 second, Jerry. I'm going to end the stream real quick.